What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Allison Maslan. Allison was recently named one of the top women entrepreneurs who inspire by Self-Made magazine. She's a best-selling author who has built 10 successful companies from the ground up, starting as a single mom on her own. Her client list has included Ben & Jerry's, Charlotte Russe, Supercuts and Allstate. Allison has guided countless business owners to grow high net worth companies, multiply their income, and create more passion and freedom on a daily basis. She just recently released her book, Scale or Fail, which is an absolute game changer for entrepreneurs and business owners out there. So you want to make sure that you grab that. I think you guys are going to really love this conversation with Allison, where we talk about her passion of trapeze swinging, which is absolutely crazy, and how she utilized that in her book launch and uses the theories that she's learned in the art of trapeze within business. And I think that you guys will have so many great takeaways. So make sure you get your pen and paper ready, because this is note-taking worthy. Guys, Growth Now Movement Live is really setting up to be one of the most game-changing events in everybody's life. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, go to gnmlive.com. I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to get them now. I'm announcing 2 more speakers in the coming month that is going to absolutely blow you away. gnmlive.com. Check out all the details. Get your tickets there. This event will sell out. Now, without further ado, I give to you Allison Maslan. Allison, welcome to the Growth Now movement.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have a really good conversation, and Natalie Jill connected us, and I looked into your story and everything that you're doing, and I was like, yep, let's have a chat. I said this before I hit record, but I want to start here because it's a very unique way to start a show. And it's the fact that I saw on Natalie's story last night, you had a book launch party, which a lot of times I thought, I'm going to watch a book launch party. They're going to be sitting in a room. She might read a chapter or something, sign some books, and hang out with her friends. But no, it was you swinging on a trapeze in your backyard, which is mind-blowing in itself. I had no idea you had this talent. So let's talk about that for a second and how that whole thing started.
Well, I was a gymnast growing up. And I really feel like that's a big part of where I got my self-discipline of working hard and staying focused towards a goal. And then in my early 30s, I discovered that you could actually fly on the trapeze. And I said, oh my God, I want to do that. And so I ended up starting to train with the 5-generation circus family, one of the top trapeze families in the world. And so for 20 years, I've been driving back and forth to LA, sometimes 3 and 4 hours back and forth to train, and for 20 years. And it's been a big part of my life. It's really where I go to get recalibrated and just fill me up with passion.
That's so amazing. So first of all, I've never even met anybody who knows how to use the trapeze. And when you think, when I looked into your story, massive business success, 10 businesses that you've run successfully, and a great personal story. And then you find, oh wow, she has this really cool. Like, I used to ask people, what's your hidden talent? And then I would get real stale answers. But I feel like if I asked you that and I had no idea, I would have been blown away, which is absolutely incredible. But let's talk a little bit more about kind of you and who you are today in business and in life. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of unpack that as we go along. So who is Allison today? And then we'll get into how you got there.
Well, I am a businesswoman through and through. I've been a businesswoman 35 years, and it's, I believe, what I have been born to do. And the place that I am now, after running all of these companies, I get to pay it forward and help business owners all over the world. My team and I, we mentor them to grow and scale their companies. And I really believe, Justin, from the bottom of my heart, that business owners are the change makers of the world. They're the innovators. They're the visionaries. And so if I can help them to grow and break through, and then I'm really leaving a legacy.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And as this world evolves and the economy evolves, I mean, entrepreneurship and building businesses is really going to be a huge option going forward. So you taking a big part in that and really helping these people is obviously really important. So thank you for doing that. So let's talk a little bit about how you even got into entrepreneurship and what was the journey of discovering like, hey, I want to be this businesswoman. I want to really kind of make an impact in the world through business. So how did it all start for you?
Well, my father built the largest chain of women's clothing stores starting in 1955 all the way to the early 80s. And he had such a passion for his work. And I used to go with him as a little girl from store to store. And I just thought to myself, gosh, I want to do that, you know. And the message I got early on was, if you want something, go create it yourself. And so I started my first business when I was 19. I did personalized poems for birthdays and anniversaries. And I remember telling my dad, I'm going to be a poet. I found my calling. And he was like, oh, that is so great, Allie. I am so proud of you. But, you know, poets don't really become known until they're dead. I was like, Dad, God, you're such a buzzkill. And anyway, so that ended up evolving beyond the poems to, over time, a full service advertising and public relations firm.
Wow.
By the time I was 25. And I had no idea what I was doing, Justin. I mean, seriously, hadn't taken one ad class, knew really nothing about marketing.
Wow.
But I really didn't. But people would ask me, well, you know, I don't really want a poem. And do you do brochures? Do you do radio commercials? Do you do television commercials? And I just kept saying, yes. Oh, yes, all the time. And then I would get out of their office going, oh, my God, I have no idea how to do this. But that would force me to figure it out.
Yeah.
And to ask for help. And so that's really how it all started.
Yeah, and I love that. And it's funny, it's kind of how my business grew as well. So it started out, I did the podcast, and then people started asking me questions about podcasting. And I said, yeah, I can help you, even though I wasn't 100% sure if I could because I didn't know what they were going to ask me. And then it became coaching. And then somebody said, hey, do you do production? Which I didn't at the time. And they go, and I said, yes, I do. And just really kind of figured it out. And there were definitely some mistakes along the way. Saying yes to things when you're not 100% prepared, like I buried myself underpricing and then lost clients for overpricing. And it takes some time to kind of find that sweet spot. So is that something that you kind of figured out along the way too? Or was it like just natural, like day one, it was like, this works?
Oh my God, no. I mean, I had so many crazy things happen. I remember we were printing some cards for the biggest Catholic church in all of San Diego. And all of these women were at the church. They're waiting there to fill out these cards. It was like some party they were having. And I had the printer delivering them to my office. I was driving a black Ford Taurus back then. And they delivered them and put them into somebody else's car. Oh. Somehow the key fit, and so they're missing in San Diego somewhere. So I had to go to all these women and tell them, your cards are somewhere, so it's car in San Diego. I mean, but stuff like that happened all the time. And man, I had one time, oh my gosh, this was the worst, where we had done a big photo shoot. I mean, we hired models, everything. And this is before we were digital, okay? This is before internet, so I'm really dating it to myself. I put the photos, the slides, on top of my car, okay? and drove off. And
I'm feeling so much
I
pain right
literally
now.
was crying all day, walking up and down this road looking. It just was not there. I literally I had to go to this owner of this company and tell him that I've lost all the photos from the entire shoot with their models and everything. I mean, there were so many learning experiences. I mean, when you can face something like that and live to tell about it, they actually felt sorry for me, thank God.
Oh, wow.
But it's all part of learning. I wouldn't take any of it back, as tough as it was. And that business really was a big part of why I wrote my new book, where I am today, because I was great, Justin, at flying by the seat of my pants. I had big clients like Ben and Jerry's and Supercuts and so forth, but I didn't know how to scale a business. I didn't know how to build a team. I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't know how to put logistics and systems in. And I just imploded back then.
Yeah.
I literally fell apart. And so that was a huge turning point for me. I actually had a terrible car accident from the stress of it all. And I thought, okay, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live my life like this. I want to be able to have time with my family. And I ended up walking away from it all. I mean, literally just walking away with nothing.
Wow.
And just rewriting the whole story of my business and my life, and moving on and building 9 more companies from there. But I took the time to learn. I took the time to learn how to grow, to learn how to scale, and decided I would write a very different story moving forward.
For sure. So let's go back real quick to that overwhelm, and to those stress levels where, even though there's success happening around you financially and the business is growing, there's an internal struggle, there's internal stress. You essentially bury yourself, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this, and a lot of business owners struggle with this every single day. So what was that like every single day, living in that and feeling that? And then you essentially just walked away, but how can somebody not just walk away, but still own their business and really kind of manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I was miserable, and I felt guilty. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you should be so happy. You're making money, and you're building this thing. And I would tell my friends, I'm so not happy. And they'd say, well, Allison, you've built such a success. You cannot walk away from this. So I felt trapped in my own success, which sounds kind of ludicrous. But I really felt like I didn't have a choice, and I was afraid. I was a single mom back then, and I thought, what if I can't recreate this? What if I can't do something differently? And what I will tell you is that when your desire for change grows stronger than your fear, then that will propel you forward. And that's really what happened to me, because I just thought, there's got to be more to life than living like this. And the thing is, that's not why you get into business. You get into business to have more freedom.
Yeah.
You get into business to live your passion. And the way that I was working it, like many business owners do, it becomes a job. And the business is running you instead of you running it. But it does not need to be this way.
Yeah. And I love all that, because like I'm at a point in my career or with my business where I'm there, right? And I'm you kind of balance the I'm why people are paying me, and you start to kind of trade time for dollars instead of really growing something. But I also live in the world of like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, and if I want to, I don't ever sleep till 10 a.m., but if I want to sleep till 10 a.m., I can. Where like you have all these people running around saying, nope, you got to be up at 5 a.m., you got to work out by 5:02 a.m., you got to be drinking your coffee by 5:12 p.m. or 5:12 a.m., and it becomes like this thing because there's so many people shouting at you saying this is what you need to be doing, and that's why I love what you're all about right now, which is all about creating this life by scaling properly, because if you don't, you're going to end up where you were. Walking away from a company that completely drove you into the ground. And I find it intriguing that you left this overwhelming world and you went and started 9 other companies. Was that all at the same time? Were you running these things at the same time? Like, what were you doing?
No, definitely not. This has been a 35-year journey. From that time period, physically, emotionally, everything, I was spent. And I remember getting into work, and I had a friend of mine in the ad business, and I happened to say to her that day, do you ever have those days that you just don't think you're going to make it? And she said, oh, I've got the guy for you. You have to try this homeopathic medicine. And I grew up in the Midwest. I didn't know about anything holistic back then. Okay, this is in the 90s. And so I thought, okay, I'll check it out. Well, ended up homeopathy changed my life, completely changed my life. So that set me on a whole new course. So I went from, ad exec to homeopathic physician. And I mean, people that knew me back then, their head was spinning. And my mom thought I joined a religious cult. I mean, it was a mad time, but it was wonderful. And so I ran that practice for 20 years. And at the same time, I built the largest homeopathic school in the country in 99. I sold that in 2005. And so while I ran the practice, I built several other companies, beauty salon chain, a software company, a jewelry manufacturing company, a scuba diving certification company, all of that. So, because once you get the system down,
how do you go? Like, how do you look like scuba diving, hair products, homeopathic, solutions? How is that even a thing? Like, how did you live in so many brands at one time? That's crazy.
I just had these passions, and it's interesting. There weren't a lot of people, definitely my age, running companies back then. There's an entrepreneurial explosion now. Of course, we have the internet, and that opens so many doors. But, I think I just saw by example with my father building this amazing chain and being so innovative. I never thought, why not? And I always knew they'd be successful. I just decided that they would be. I was passionate about them. I got into scuba diving. Oh, I will run a certification company. I love jewelry and accessory. I love traveling around the world. I'm going to build this company. So it really came out of that. But then when I felt like, you know what, I'm done going down this path, like I could feel it in my heart, like I've ended this chapter, it was time to move on. And so I've sold 4 of those companies.
Very, very cool. So here you are, you've written this book, Scale or Fail, and I can't wait to read it. I haven't known about you long enough to read it yet, but I can't wait to read it because it seems really, really impactful. And you had mentioned that on the cover there's the trapeze. So this is, like you said, this has become a metaphor for you in lots of parts of your life. So let's start there, because the cover is super important to every book. So why are trapeze on the cover of this book?
Because there's such great metaphors between the trapeze and business. And obviously I didn't know that when I started flying on the trapeze, but over all these years, I see that doing this has made me a better businesswoman. And you don't have to fly on the trapeze to be a better business owner. But I do feel that it is important to have passion outside of your business. I mean, we can become very boring. I love business, but you talk about it all the time, and people will tune you out. And it's also important, it's a healthy thing for you to get away and have something that you are totally in the moment, whether it's painting or golf or gardening, and that's what trapeze is for me. When I'm up there, I'm not thinking about social media or responsibility or payroll or any of those things. You can't be. You have to, for your own safety, you got to be in the moment. So it's like a moving meditation. But when you climb that ladder, you have to be so committed. And in business, when you take that step and you jump in, you've got to jump in with both feet. And when you're up on that pedestal and you take your flying leap, you've got to give it all you've got. You've got to give it every ounce of energy and focus and passion. You can't just test the waters in business. I've had people say to me, Allison, I've got this idea. I'm going to give it a try for a few years. And I tell them, if you're going to give it a try, it's not going to work. You've got to decide it's going to be successful. And that's what you have to do on the trapeze. I mean, we did the show last night for the book launch party. And, we had over 100 people there. And I'll tell you, I was nervous. I was up there, and I've been doing this for 20 years, and I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I've got to catch this thing. I've got to get, caught by the catcher and get back to the bar. And, you just have to be 100% committed. Thank goodness it all came together well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
So for the entrepreneurs that are listening who are at that breaking point with their career and their business and saying, this is so much, I don't know what to do next. I'm at my breaking point of like, okay, I've hit the ceiling. Like I myself can't make any more money. How do I continue to grow this thing? And obviously scale and scaling has become an it word within business, because people like the people out there like Gary Vee and Andy Frisella talk about scaling and doing all that types of things. So what is a first step somebody can take to really begin to search? Because I think sometimes we look at it and we go, well, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to hire somebody. I can't afford to hire a team. I can't afford to do these things. So how do you take that first step when you don't feel comfortable taking that first step? Like you said, make that big leap.
Well, let me first say that I was a single mom for 12 years. I had zero financing, zero help, and everyone around me telling me I was crazy. So, and I ended up building all these companies. So, you don't need to have this financing. You just got to get creative.
Yeah.
And that's where I was, just like you. I was doing everything. And I was a control freak and a perfectionist and felt like, if I don't do it, it's going to fall apart. So many business owners think this way, and it's not true.
Yeah.
It's our own ego that's in the way. Your customers just want to be taken care of. They just want to get their questions answered. And so if you are the dollars for hours model, meaning if you go to sleep, you're not making money. If you go on vacation, you're not making money. So you just feel a slave to your business. If you start teaching your craft to other people that you bring on, even if it's an intern, even if it's a part-time person, one at a time, you will start to build your own signature process. And then you will have several people that are under you delivering your product or service to many more people that you could ever reach. Now, this is a process over time. It doesn't happen overnight. But like, for instance, in my mentoring company, which is Pinnacle Global Network, which I've run the last 9 years, I have 8 CEO mentors that mentor our clients with my signature process. So now if it was just me, I would only be able to help a few people, but now we're able to help thousands of people.
Yeah, I love that. So it seems like in this conversation you have a ton of passions. What is your biggest passion? Like, what's your driving factor to get up every day and run all these successful businesses and continue to push to level up?
Well, I just feel that I am called to do this work. I believe that business owners are the change makers of the world. I truly believe it. And right now, we need the help. We need to make a difference. Our healthcare, our environment, technology, science, there's so many opportunities there. So if I can help one business owner break through, and I'll tell you, Justin, there's so many business owners are at this place. You get traction and then you hit a wall and people get stuck there. Their businesses die there. They could stay there 10, 20 years. And so when you learn to scale, and in the book I give 17 scale strategies. There are other ways of doing it. You don't have to always build a big team.
Right.
You can scale your revenue through certification programs and membership programs and creating other locations and so forth. There are many ways to do it. And once that happens, the business owner's life is changed forever. Their employees' lives are changed forever. They impact more customers. And so that is really my purpose and my passion.
That's awesome. So you mentioned the 17 scale strategies, which is a large amount. Can we go over some of them and just kind of talk a little bit more in detail about one or two of them?
Absolutely. So in fact, I will say, do not do all 17. Okay.
Be in trouble at that point.
Yes. Only do one or two. And business is not about working harder. It really is not. It is about finding those one or two really creative scale strategies that will catapult your business and multiply your impact, multiply your wealth, and multiply the number of people that you'll reach. That's really what scaling is all about. So, yes, so if you have a monthly recurring revenue, and this could be a $49 a month, it could be a $19.99 a month. What happens is that the valuation of your business goes up at least 3 to 5 times, sometimes even 10 times. So if you're going to then sell your business 5 years from now, that means that you're going to make a lot more money for your business. And you can create a membership program in any type of business. We've done it with staffing companies, construction companies. I mean, one of my clients is a cold storage construction company, and we help them create a certification program to train other cold storage contractors. So, and nobody else is doing anything like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So it really is about getting creative. We outline all the steps in the book. And within a year, you can easily put something together that is going to take a 5-year growth plan and cut it down to, a tenth of the time.
That's incredible. That's really, really cool. And I'm big on helping others as well. And so I actually recently just started a podcast Mastermind, because for years people were like, hey, I want to work with you, but they can't afford the higher ticket. And so we just did that. So like you literally hit it on the head with the one point you mentioned, which, that adds massive value to your business. It adds massive value. You're impacting more lives from that standpoint. And it's become obviously a great revenue for me as well. So I appreciate you dropping that knowledge. So the coolest part about this podcast, and I think anytime we get to talk to people, like you said, you have a podcast, you get to talk to amazing individuals. It brings you into their space. So I like to say that I've talked to some of the most successful people in the world, including yourself. And look, it doesn't matter how you define success, because everybody defines it differently. So my question for you is, what is your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure it?
That is a great question, because it is different for everybody. And I would say, for me, I feel like I'm at the pinnacle of my success because I get to give back. To me, that's what it's all about. And, I know what it's like kind of chugging that train up the mountain and so forth. And so to be able to take my wisdom of all these years and to be able to share it with others, that truly feels like success to me. And, I'm at a place now, I don't even really need to go into my company. My team can run it. And I actually teach you how to do this in your book. And so after this interview today, my husband and I are going to go hang out. I think we might go bike riding today. It's a beautiful day in San Diego.
When is it? Hold on. When is it not a beautiful day in San Diego?
I know. But the sun is already out. And so, being able to spend the time with my husband. My daughter works for me now, which
That's
is
great.
really cool. She's all grown up. So to me, it's about being with the people that I love and giving all of this knowledge away to all these people that I care about. So
I love it.
Success.
So what daily routines do you have to ensure that never goes away, to ensure that that's happening for you every single day?
Yeah, well, you know how you were talking about the business owners that get up at 5 a.m. and they're, running at 5:12 a.m. That is not me. And I struggled with that for the longest time, Justin, because I thought, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why can't I do this? But my body is not wired that way. I am a night owl. I get creative at night. I could have, a party at 10 p.m. My husband thinks I'm nuts. But I need my 8 hours of sleep. So if I am up late, I've got to sleep till, 8, 9 o'clock. And so my perfect time to start is 10 a.m. So sleep for me is everything. That's a big thing. And I think, we're in this era of grind it out, hustle, 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 which, yeah, you do. You need to focus. But I think you need to listen to the rhythm of your body. And for me, that never works. So sleep is definitely number one. Number two is take vacations. And if that is one day away, and so that is something that I do every single month, we go away, we'll just drive somewhere, even if it's 30 minutes away for the weekend. And for me, stepping back and getting that big picture view of my life and my business truly recalibrates everything. And then the last thing I'll say is I exercise every day. And I've had the same personal trainer for 20 years.
Wow.
Marcus.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's an ex-Marine. He kicks my butt. And, just the mental toughness that I have gotten from that on the days that I go in like, oh my God, I'm just not feeling it today. But number one, I show up because he's there waiting for me. And, he doesn't let me fall short. He doesn't let me quit on myself. So through the tough times of my life, and there were many, raising a teenager on my own, and she was very high maintenance. And it would be like, okay, if I can get through this next push-up, I can get through anything.
I love that. So what time of day do you work out? Just out of curiosity, because I found, working out has been something that's semi-new into my life. I used to do it, then I stopped, and now I've reintroduced it. But I can't work out. Like, people wake up and they're like 5. I know you said you're not a morning person, but like 5 a.m. working out. Like, I'm more like, right now, if I were doing this interview, I'd be working out. Like, this is the ideal time for me to work out. What about you?
Well, I've tried the 6 a.m. workouts, and I'm not even awake. I think I'm literally like doing jumping jacks, and I'm still in the dreamland. So for me, I work out at either 10:15 in the morning or 11:30. Those are that we have set during the week. By then, I'm going to get much more out of the workout. I'm not great at the end of the day either. I want to kind of start winding down because I'm already wired towards the end of the day. But I also fly on the trapeze, and now that I have it in my backyard, I can just walk out. Instead of driving 3 hours, it's 50 feet, and I get out there, climb up the ladder, and do some swings. So
that's amazing. So first, I want to say that I love this message right now, because what you're talking about in this book and what you're just talking about in this interview is really needed. Because like you said, we live in this world now where all we hear is grind, hustle, work 1,000 hours a week, and it's not necessary. But we're taught that it is by these successful people. And so thank you so much for sharing this message right now, because it is truly needed for our health as people, and our brains and our hearts and our body, because it's insane to bury yourself in the manner that you did that many years ago. And so thank you for sharing that for sure in this book and everything else. So I usually wrap up all these interviews with 5 rapid fire questions, but before we get there, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they get the book? What's the best way to do all that good stuff?
Well, you can get the book. We have a special link for your listeners so that they can get some gifts, because we're, in a launch period here. And so the link for the book is scaleorfail.com/growth book. Scaleorfail.com/growth book. And you'll get some cool bonuses. You got a quick start guide that is really beautiful. It's like the cliff notes to the book that you can have with you. This is like your business Bible. And there's also a 2-hour training that I put together that goes with the book. So you get that for free.
That's
and
incredible.
Then other great bonuses. If you buy several books at once, you get all kinds of great trainings on building a team and how to get out of the cash flow crunch. So that's all for your listeners. And then if you want to check out more of what I do, you go to AllisonMaslan.com. You'll find out about my podcast on there, which is Allie and You. Or if you want to just email me directly, it's support@AllisonMaslan.com. Happy to answer anybody's questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with my audience. We'll link up everything in the show notes. But now I want to get into 5 rapid fire questions. Some are fun, some are serious, but I ask you this. Answer with only one word or at the most one sentence. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, the first one is, what is your favorite smell?
Honeysuckle flowers.
I love it. If you were on death row, what would be your last meal?
Mashed potatoes and chips and salsa.
That is so random. That is so random. Like to have, I mean, obviously they're clearly probably your 2 favorite foods, but to have them together, it just doesn't work. I love it. If you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Samuel Hahnemann, who was the founder of homeopathic medicine, and homeopathy's been around for 200 years. He has the largest monument, the only monument to a doctor in Washington.
Wow.
Brilliant man.
That's awesome. I'll have to look into him. That's amazing. That's really cool. At the end of your life, if you could only be remembered for one sentence, what would that sentence be?
She gave 100% of her heart and soul in everything she did.
That's awesome. Well, I can definitely say that's true just from hearing your story. So that's pretty amazing. And obviously this podcast is called the Growth Now Movement. So I wrap up every single episode with this one question, and that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
My biggest moment of growth has been watching all of my clients, all of the people out there having the courage to finally step out and have the major breakthroughs that they get when they get out of their own way and take the leaps.
Awesome. Allison, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a couple of minutes and sharing your wisdom and imparting everything that you've learned in your business journey with my audience. This has been a lot of fun, and just thank you so much for being you.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast.
Awesome. Enjoy your bike ride.
Oh, I will.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.